A brief look at our high compression 1500cc Triumph Spitfire, which I did just this winter. So it's a 1500 block. It's a 77 1500 block. It's got a 1300cc head off a 1300 engine. So the head's off a 1300 Triumph Spitfire. The block is all 1500 stuff. It's got flat top pistons in it. It's got a ported 1300 head. Specifically, I ported it. It is a smaller valve head. It's not the big valve head. I didn't bother putting bigger valves in it. I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference because it's such a small difference in size. And mechanical fuel pump, because I'm a dinosaur. Twin SUs. And a carb cheater. That's all there is to it. But yeah, I ported the 1300 head. I back faced the valves on it. And put flat top pistons in it. Deburred the block. It's got flat top pistons. Stock rods, stock crank. 1300 push rods, because you have to use 1300 push rods because the 1300 head is shorter than the 1500 head. So you can't use 1500 push rods if you use a 1300 head on a 1500. And it's really about it. It's pretty simple, really. Stock starter for now. We'll see how long it'll last. It's 10-2 compression. It's got a peteronex distributor on it. Just a Holley generic regulator, because I run fuel pressure regulators on everything, because people say you don't need one with a mechanical pump. If you got a modern mechanical pump, I strongly suggest it, because this pump is only 2 years old, because it was on the old engine too, and this thing makes 6 psi. It's supposed to make 3.5, so that's why I got it regulated down. Not much to it. Stock alternator, aluminum radiator, a little bit bigger than stock aluminum radiator. Keeps it very cool. I'm just waiting on my spring compressor that's on the way to do the struts on this guy, and it's out the door. It's done pretty much. I did put a catch can on it because the intake was full of oil when I had this thing apart, so I decided to put a catch can on it. It may not be necessary, but I did it anyway. It's just got an inline PCV valve. And so, yeah. And for people that are asking about carb cheater, which people were asking about the carb cheater on this engine specifically, all I did, don't know if this is right or wrong. I don't know that there is a right or wrong way to do it, because I don't know of anyone else that's done it on side draft. I just piped it right into the intake right here. Since I have a vacuum port here, it's not being used. It goes across this in this passage to both carburetors. I figure that's the most equal way to do it. So I got a line coming out of that, and then a T here, and then it just goes over here into our sensor and our valve, air valve. And then I mounted the carb cheater box here. It has, I just ran the wiring through here. It's probably not the best way to do it, but that's how I did it. We'll shove the excess behind the coil there. She's plugged in. Then I have my inline fuse here that goes over to the coil for the ignition. And it's only 4 wires on the carb cheater hooked up on this car. Since it's a peteronex distributor and I don't have an MSD box, I don't need all this. It's just got a wire to the positive on the coil, negative on the coil, negative on the battery, and positive on the battery. And that's it. She's wired up. Besides running this line, of course, right, where is it? Here, just zip tied here to the brake line to keep it out of the suspension and everything else and dragging off on the ground. Goes down here into our O2 sensor, which is right about there, welded into the exhaust. And this exhaust is hangs a little low right there. I'm probably going to deal with that somehow. I just haven't decided how. And the exhaust on the car, currently, this is probably not how it's going to be permanently. I'm not really a big fan of it, so I'm going to probably fix it after I drive it a little bit. I want to drive the car some. So it's got a cheapy eBay header on it. Not the best, but it did fit in the car correctly. It bolted up other than I had to bash this one primary tube, a little dent in it to clear the frame right here. Other than that, it fits perfectly. And then I just have a little exhaust clamp right there on that adapter that goes into a flex coupling, and that goes into the actual pipe. I use the flex coupling so if the engine wants to move a little bit, it can. And then the header actually comes with this, but I just clamped it directly to the pipe, so I didn't use that. Is it good or bad? Don't know, don't care. And then it's just got the stock mid-pipe off the header, which is why it's kind of wonky. I'll probably make something better than that. It hangs kind of low. And that comes back to... Crap. Where does it come back to? It comes back to here. And then comes into a turbo muffler. And I will maybe give you the part number on that. But it is a... Crap. What is it? It's a Thrush. It's a Thrush turbo muffler. Can't... I don't even know if... No, I don't think I had the box in here. I probably threw it away. Otherwise, I'd give you the part number off it. But that just goes in the Thrush turbo muffler. It sounds fine. I mean, I went with the turbo muffler because before it had a Super Ton Flowmaster on it when it was just a stock engine, and I thought it was a little too loud. I took the cap off and topped it off, and now I don't know where I laid it down. So I'm looking for that after this, but that's all there is to it. I just think if I missed anything. I have this blocked off right now. This would go to the heater core, but I have a leak, so I blocked that off temporarily with a bolt there. I may put an oil cooler on this. I don't know that it's really necessary, but I might put one on it. It's just not high on the list. Carbcheater works great. Haven't had any issues. Probably am not going to have any issues. I've driven it only a couple times around the block before I put the hood on because I want to make sure everything's good. It's kind of a pain in the ass to deal with. But the hood's in my other bay over here in front of my truck. There's the hood right there. It's kind of a pain in the ass to put on. It takes about 2 or 3 people, 2 at least. But we're gonna see if this turd fires for fun. In the video. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer. And I love this car. I just haven't gotten to drive it yet this year because snow just melted off and I haven't put the hood on it yet. It just literally melted off like yesterday. I just finished this engine in January. I got tuned up this month And I've only gotten to drive it once since I got it running right. Just around the block, just barely. I'm going to give it a little choke. I do have a primer pump on it, but we're going to try not using the electric primer fuel pump. Actually, let me show you that real quick, and we'll start it. People do ask about that. So I don't have it wired in yet, but I'm going to run a wire with a switch, so then I can flip a switch and have this kick on and pump fuel up to the mechanical pump, and as soon as it fires, you can flip that switch off. And that's how you use a primer pump. This is because this car sits a lot. It sits all winter. Sometimes it sits for months at a time because we have 10 cars. We don't drive them every day. So I like just being able to hit it once and it fire basically right up on the starter with this car because it's a Triumph. The Bendixes aren't known for being good at all. Eventually, the starters don't like to kick out, or sometimes the motors even stop working altogether. Those Lucas starters aren't very good. But I might get rid of that eventually if I get a mini starter or something. But the mechanical fuel pump, for me, it used to always run off that, and that's just a generic, what brand is this? Generic Mr. Gasket, clickety-clack. It is a free flow pump, so the mechanical pump has no problem pulling through that. Let's see if she's going to start for us tonight. I'll pull the choke out. This has a manual choke on mine, and I have a starter button under the dash, which is not factory, but I do have one under the dash. And very cold-natured. But she runs. And then I just kind of like to hold my foot on it. Very cold-natured. There's a wonderful Lucas starter. Okay, we needed a teeny bit. It runs good once it's warmed up. Need a little bit of choke. A little over, was 65 pounds of oil pressure. I got about $2,000 in this engine with all the parts and everything. It's a complete rebuild. The only thing I didn't do is I didn't take a single thing in the machine shop. Nothing was in bad enough shape to where I thought it was necessary. Of course, if you don't want to rebuild your head yourself, you could have taken that to the machine shop. It's not that expensive to have somebody else do the head. I just wanted to save the money. You could hear the carbcheater air valve doing its thing. Let's see if she'll just run now. Maybe. Alright. Looks like she's just gonna run on the choke. I'll just let it run a little bit on the choke and I'll shut the choke off. I'll show you what it sounds like to choke off. But you can hear that air valve running, probably because I have the choke on too much. Probably too rich. So it's a basically computer controlled vacuum leak, to be honest with you. It makes it run a lot more like fuel injection. I love it. Got one on this and one on my C10. These have a rev limiter on them, a 2-step, That air valve, which is an auto tune you can turn off or on, and it's got AFR gauges is the main thing I use it for tuning. And once I get it dialed in, I turn on the auto tune, and it keeps you in spec no matter what the weather it is outside. It can be 20 degrees and it can be 100 degrees outside, and this thing runs perfectly within the AFR range it's supposed to because of the air valve. It's really ingenious. Push that in. Alright, I'm going to show you how good it runs off the choke. It's going to idle off the choke. There you go. Runs like a sewing machine. No black smoke, nothing like that. It runs perfect. The carb cheater's currently doing nothing, by the way, because the AFR is just right on the money. It could use a little warming up. When it warms up, the all response gets better. Right now it's kind of crappy. I need to look at my ignition timing. Yeah, it's bogging today. I think it's just because it's cold. I wasn't doing that yesterday when I drove it. Might have been because I had it warmed up though before I was trying to crack it like this. Interesting. Yeah, I need to check the ignition timing. And I need to see what the AFR is showing. But it was running good yesterday. But I haven't quite worked out every kink. But I also did let it get hot before I drove it. I let it sit here and idle, so maybe I should look into that. It's definitely lean. It's a lean issue, so it's either too much timing or not enough fuel. Yeah, it's lean. But other than that, it runs fine. And it may not do that when it's hot, but it sure as heck is doing that when it's cold. I'll bring you back maybe when it's warmed up and we'll see if it's still doing it. If it's still doing it, then I'll have to dig deeper. I do believe it was a timing issue because I took some timing out of it. It had a shit ton in it. It already took a lot of that bog out of it just by removing some timing. It's still a little boggy off the jump, but it's way better than it was. And the carbs probably need adjusted now that the timing's been changed. But it's better. For sure. Not bad. Anyway, that's it. Just wanted to show you this turd and what we got going on with it. It's a lot better than it was. Runs pretty good. Let's see if it restarts. I'm just curious. Oh, no problem. Alright. Sometimes the tack, is a little Give her a little tap. Now she's working again. Not very good. It's not very accurate at all. I don't think the RPM's that low. Anyway, that's it for now. She runs okay. I want to fix this. This drives me insane. The grommet's not actually in there, and this is crooked, and it looks like poop. Anyway, no one cares. It's just me that cares. But it runs all right, and well, there she is. There's my high compression 1500. I haven't got it running right as far as perfect yet, but it's a process. It's a total process. It takes a while to get them dialed. And once it's dialed in, she'll be good. I need to drive it to get it much closer, and I already got it. So, anyway, it runs good, and it's gonna get even better, I think, once we start driving it. And the rings have more time to seat in and stuff. It's all brand new. And yes, I know if you're a Triumph guy, this block is not supposed to be orange. It would just be the valve cover. The engine would have been some lame gray or black, but it looks better orange. I want some color in my engine bays, so that's it for the high compression Triumph for now. Next, I want to drive it, fix the overdrive on the car, since it's a factory overdrive car, and just enjoy it this summer. I'm hoping. If the weather ever warms up, it just now got to 50 degrees today, so I'm hoping to put away that turd of a snowblower and never see it again until the next winter. I want to get out and drive some junk. It's been too cold though.